Hello and welcome to Press X as part of the Geek Show podcast family. It's our discussion about games, game-related stuff, more games. It's basically a gaming type of show we've got ahead. My name is Mark, and with me is Rob.
Hello.
And Andrew.
Yes.
Yes, certainly yes. So we've got some interesting news articles today, starting with...
Me! So, yeah, as we always do, we're just picking the stories that we found interesting rather than going through all video games news, because, you know, there are enough places for you to read about all that stuff. But these are the ones that maybe flew under your radar a little bit. Right. You know loot boxes?
Yeah.
Those things that really got EA into trouble with Battlefront and stuff like that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's been an ongoing issue with loot boxes because they started becoming more and more prominent in games. Now, loot boxes, don't know if you guys know the history. I know that, well, you guys probably do know the history of loot boxes, but a lot of people probably aren't aware that loot boxes started off on mobile games. They were a kind of a smartphone, tablet PC type gaming thing in those games. In those free-to-play games, you'd basically buy a loot box. It'll give you some random piece of virtual crap that may or may not be useful. You see, there's no real financial incentive to buying loot boxes. You never really win any money or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But according to the Belgian Minister of Justice, Koen Geens, and the Belgian government, loot boxes are still a form of gambling because you are forking over money for a game of chance.
Mm-hmm.
And any game of chance that you have to pay for is classed as gambling. Now, here's the thing, right? And this is where it gets interesting. This is where the story gets really interesting. The Belgian government's gaming commission have done an investigation into video game loot boxes, and they're particularly focused on certain popular games. Overwatch, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, FIFA 18, as well as other games by extension like Battlefront. And what they found was that those games were in violation of Belgium's gambling legislation.
Right.
Basically, the mechanics in those games encourage children to gamble, which the country has stated is illegal, highly illegal. And so Belgium have basically said, right, loot boxes are a form of gambling and they're illegal.
In a way, they're quite right.
They are, but they've said all loot boxes. So whether they are in console games, whether they are in smartphones or tablet games, they're all illegal in Belgium now.
They're kind of right, but as you were going to probably move on to, this probably affects quite a lot of things. I mean, there's websites now that, you know, loot crates. I'm guessing, Mark, you know loot crates.
Oh, yeah.
Where you'll pay something like 20 quid and you'll just get a random box full of merchandise.
Yeah, it's a game of chance. Their entire business model is based on this. So isn't that technically a form of gambling then? Yeah,
I would say it was.
In the eyes of the law. I'm not saying in the eyes of common sense. I'm saying in the eyes of the law. Because the law, as they say, justice is blind. In some case, it's a dumb blind. Let's be fair. But loot crates, by their nature, would probably fall under the category of gambling, according to the way this article has stated things anyway. They probably fine-tune it when it comes to, actually writing it into law.
Oh, yeah, they will have to, I was going to say they have to put something specific in there.
Yeah.
Because there's quite a lot of things. There's websites, for example, we won't say the name, but let's call them Mumble Bumble. And they, you can subscribe on a monthly basis, and you'll get a random. You get told 2 or 3 of the games, and it could be books as well, ebooks. And at the when the month comes, the bundle gets revealed.
Yeah. Now that's brought me into something else, because I've actually had another thought.
Yeah.
PlayStation Plus do the exact same thing, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Does Xbox do that as well? Give you a random game or something for Xbox Gold?
I think they
do.
And no doubt Nintendo will do that once they launch their thing for the Switch. So yeah, that's actually quite interesting. I never thought of it that way.
It does have a lot. Thing is, people probably looked at this and went, "Oh yeah, it's only dealing with loot boxes," and I think that's where people are often misunderstanding how the law and how politics works. It starts off as something simple, but then it snowballs into something that affects a lot of things, because this is just Belgium doing this, but I can guarantee you, if Belgium have gone ahead with this, it will soon be written into law in other countries, and you won't even know it's been written into law in other countries. They won't make a song and dance about it, they'll just do it. Right?
Well,
because the precedent is there in Europe anyway.
Exactly. So Belgium is part of the Europe. So if they're bringing up across a game for the PAL regions, for the Europe regions, then they're going to have to comply for all of the regions, because all it is just at the moment, it's just like a language swap.
Yeah.
It's the exact same game. There's not a Belgian version of Battlefield. There's not a France version. There's not a German version. It's just the PAL version. So basically, it's going to hit all of Europe all at once.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It will hit all of Europe. You know, from the development side, you're right. But on the legal side, the other European countries will follow what Belgium has done. And the reason why they do that is, where is the capital of Europe?
Isn't it Brussels? Like, yeah, Belgium, yeah.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Mm.
And where do we get all our kings and queens from? Belgium. They're all Belgian. I thought everybody knew this. All of the kings and queens in Europe are Belgian. At heart, you know, if you go back far enough. Don't know how it's worked out like that, but it has.
But anyway, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think, see how it plays out.
Well, it's an interesting thing, particularly from the perspective of what it could lead on to, is what I find fascinating about this. Because, as I said, it starts off as something simple like loot crates, and people will look at it and brush off the article as something simple like loot crates. But as you guys have highlighted, it could extend on to, sorry, not loot crates, loot boxes. It could extend on to actual physical loot crates. And, you know, that company, their entire business model is based on this kind of scenario. It could extend on to PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live, Xbox Gold, and everything else. All of those in-app purchases that you see, you know, any kind of randomized in-app purchase would be affected by this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting to me. But then again, I'm a bit of a nerd. Let's be fair. I
think it's something that you're going to have to keep an eye on, because, I mean, let's face it, EA have made an entire empire on stuff like FIFA Ultimate Team, or whatever they call it.
Oh, God, yeah, Ultimate Team is going to take a massive hit.
It's probably the only way is things like Overwatch and all that are still making so much money.
Well, don't forget, I mean, games like Overwatch and the rest of them, I mean, how many games have some kind of system where you basically pay for something, get something at random, and win? Like, you know, like the, what was it, the capsule toys type system. How many games have that just as a part of their system? How many MMOs? How many multiplayer games?
Exactly.
Most of them do, don't they?
Yeah.
And if they all fit into the same kind of broad description, then they're all going to be illegal in Belgium, which by extension makes them all illegal in Europe.
They'll have to find some new scheme to get us with.
Buy this game, get a free costume.
I'm just trying to think of what else they can do. Maybe what they'll do next is you'll be able to buy a game, and you'll get to the start screen, and then you just got to put money into the game in order to keep advancing. Hang on.
If they're going to do that, then why the hell did we get rid of arcades?
I don't know. EA. I'm just trying to think in the mind of EA.
We didn't get rid of arcades. We just put them to one side in like a really niche market.
Yeah, but I mean, if things go the way Mark has said, we're going to end up with arcades again.
Yeah, well, it'll be an arcade in your house, isn't it? That's what it'll be.
A friend of mine had one of them. It didn't go well. Yeah, he basically got his electricity cut off for using too much.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
You've got to pay for that electricity, you know.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's kind of our fault because we used to just pile into his house and play all the games. All of the time. Anyway, moving on. And I believe we're going from something that's just been made illegal to something that's very illegal, aren't we, Mark?
Yeah, so this is quite a little interesting thing that's happened in America. A lad, Julian Turner, collects his retro video games. He went to a market earlier on in the month and bought some old NES games. And the games were in question were roller games and golf, which was one of the original NES games. And this lad in America, a copy of roller games was a PAL region, which isn't something you normally see every day, not in the flea market anyway, which is where the lad picked it up.
Especially in America.
Exactly. And he noticed that these cartridges were heavier in his hand. So he put them on digital scales and found both games were actually 50% heavier than they should have been. He actually had another copy of Golf on hand to compare it with. So he opened the game up to see if something had been done to modify it, and found 4 shiny plastic bags inside. And opening up them, he immediately phoned the police. Turns out they were drugs.
Okay.
So, yeah, this lad's found drugs in his cartridge. That's about it, really. It's just, it's just kind of he actually recorded it all on video I think it was a Twitch stream or a YouTube stream. And I was watching the video earlier, and the video's just found these games plus cops. And it was what? And yeah, it's actually got them just opening up and them just being like, "What's this? What's this?" And I was quite surprised. They said well, "Don't put your hands on it. You're gonna have your fingerprints all over it." And then they're like, "Oh, it's all right. We'll just open them anyway." But
it's a story you don't see in the news quite as often, isn't it?
Exactly. So
I do remember seeing something about this though. It wasn't this particular story though. It wasn't that story that you're talking about, but I do remember seeing a story recently about a bunch of video game cartridges.
Yeah, there was another similar story not long ago where a collector bought another copy of Golf for the NES and found about $5,000 in bills hiding in there.
Wow.
Must be a very spacious cartridge or something.
Was it another NES cartridge? Because the NES cartridges, the PAL ones, were huge, remember?
Yeah, it actually was another copy of Golf. So if you've got a copy of Golf for the NES, it might be worth opening it up to see what treasures were hidden in there.
It's just quite funny. Somebody's probably went through all the cartridges to hide these and thought, you know what, this Game Boy Advance cartridge isn't big enough. Let's see what else.
Let's see what I can put inside. I wonder if it's is it like Home Alone or something where he's got the remote control car and it's actually got those that weird chip in which has got all the nuclear codes in. I wonder if there's a copy of Golf somewhere that's got all of these nuclear codes in.
I just like the thought of somebody playing old Golf in 2018 and going, these graphics need something that will make me a bit more, this game a lot more fun.
I wonder if you had to blow into the cartridge as well. Blow the cartridge, get high.
No, it's just, wow.
Yeah, it's that's not something you hear every day. I mean, I've heard rumours that people were saying, I think it was it PlayStation 3s or PlayStation 4s where people were selling them. And then people were because they stopped working, and then when people were opening up, they were finding hundreds of dead cockroaches inside.
There were also the old Famicoms, which had spiders, live spiders inside.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bemused by this story because we know that drug smugglers will try any old thing to get drugs into and out of countries. Yeah?
Uh-huh.
And so we know that's a given. They're going to do that. We know that. But of all the cartridges to choose, I think Golf probably wouldn't be my first choice And yes, it's a nice, big, spacious cartridge, everything like that. It's a Nintendo cartridge, so see, that's the problem, right? What they should have gone for was a cartridge that nobody would want to buy, right?
I think that was the idea. It's like stuff like golf, and I think what was the other one? Rollerbladers.
Then you don't choose a Nintendo cartridge. If you want a cartridge that no one wants to buy, then you basically go to the desert, or you should have gone to the desert before they found it. You should have gone to the desert and dug up that treasure trove of E.T. games from Atari.
I'm just trying to think of something that would have sold even less, because I think E.T. is actually quite desirable now, because people know how bad it is.
Probably anything for the N-Gage.
No,
just N-Gage.
No, because
I'm trying to think if it was any like FIFA games in like 1995 or something like that for the Super Nintendo. They could just stuff them in there because they can't get rid of them.
No, because the N-Gage cartridges are actually quite small. You're not going to fit a lot of drugs inside those. I mean, think about it. You know the little cartridges for the PS Vita or the Nintendo DS and DSi. You know,
Yeah.
3DS. Yeah, you're not going to fit a lot of drugs in those, are you?
No.
So it can't work for a handheld system. Mega Drive, Genesis, maybe. SNES, maybe. But if you really want to just go with a cartridge that no one's going to buy at all, then you really need to go for the old Atari stuff. Oh, no, I know. Perfect smuggling tool. You know the old grandstand consoles that you used to have? You know, the ones that you plugged into your TV and they had like bat and ball and they had a dial for a controller.
Aye.
And I know how those work because we used to have one.
The thing is, if that happens now, right, they can blame us for suggesting it, Rob.
It wasn't our idea. Someone else will have had this idea first. We had nothing to do with it. Plausible deniability.
I was going to say maybe they could do it for Neo Geo one, but then I realised that would cost them stupid amounts of money.
That would cost more than the drugs.
I could sell these drugs in order to buy.
Not that we know what the going rate is.
Well, think about it. They'd be like, okay, sell the drugs, buy a Neo Geo. Sell the Neo Geo, buy the drugs. Anyway.
Anyway, I think, if you want to move on with your life and get an education, I think the next story will suffice. Stay off drugs. Stay off drugs.
Was that your He-Man message?
Anyway, there is a game that's come out within the last, just over a month, and it's very, very precise to what it is. And that game, we're going to be talking about it, no doubt, quite a bit more over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
PC Building Simulator.
I've heard about this.
This is basically, the main mode in it is you work in a computer shop and people send the PCs in, you have to fix them or build them for them, that type of thing. But it also has a PC build mode, which has to build your own.
Okay.
And it's very, very precise. You even have to take the screws out of the case and put the the mounts in for the motherboard and things like that.
Okay.
Is this like one of those games like the car mechanic simulator and stuff like that?
In a way, yeah.
Is it like Surgeon Simulator?
It'll be amazing in VR, this, but anyway. Recently...
sorry, before you move on, I just want to ask, when you say it's remarkably accurate, it has the screws and everything like that, do you have to apply the thermal paste?
Yes, you do.
Oh, right, okay. Then it is accurate.
The only thing it doesn't tell you what to do is, do you know those little... You know when you put the cables of the tower in, where it's got PC, like it's got LED and power button, that type of thing?
Yeah.
Doesn't go into that. It does your cable management for you.
Okay.
But apart from that, it's as precise as you can get it.
See, what I find funniest about this is I've been building PCs for a while, and, when everything moved across to SATA, I still remember the old internal drive system, where you basically had on the back of the hard drive, you had these little jumpers, and you had to move it from master to slave, depending on which hard drive was your boot drive. You don't have to do that now.
But yeah, there's parts of it where you're trying to take like a graphics card out, and all the cases are different, and you have to actually remove the graphics card mount that's protecting it off before you take the card out.
Does it teach you how to do
Unscrew
cable
the bits.
management?
It doesn't have cable management. It does it for you.
Is there a bit?
That's a cop out.
I don't, but I don't want to spend hours just moving cables in a game.
Is there a bit where you try and plug a USB in, but then realise you've actually got it incorrect, so you flip it over and try to enter it that way before you realise that's
right.
also incorrect. And actually, you were doing it right the first time.
Yeah.
But you do have to put the cables in and run like 3D Mark and virus scans and stuff like that, and boot your computer up as well.
What if cable management is for the VR version of this game?
But anyway, that's not the story. In the last few weeks, there's been quite an astounding number of teachers wanting PC Building Simulator in schools.
Okay, I can understand that.
And the producer of the game, from the publisher called the Irregular Corporation, basically, they've said from the start they were planning to make an education edition, but from feedback, this is the version of the game everybody wants. So they're actually considering it, making it a part of school, and it could be a part of the IT curriculum to teach them to build PCs.
Actually, that's a really good idea.
Yeah. I've heard another news story similar over the last week where teachers were asking for the Nintendo Labo cardboard thing to be in schools. So I kind of wonder if there's like a teacher somewhere in the UK who just wants every single game. It's just like, I can put this on the curriculum. Just send us free stuff.
Yes, send us free stuff. So anyway, you got me thinking about this, and I started thinking, what other games could they use for educational purposes? And there are a couple that I came up with. I don't know if you guys agree with this. I'd say the Little Big Planet games could be used as an educational tool, because especially if you're on a games course and stuff like that, because they can teach you level design in that, can't they?
Yeah.
Well, they currently use Minecraft for not just like children and primary education. They use it to design buildings and things like that.
But I mean, other games that I thought could work, Portal 2, because the physics engine in Portal 2 is spectacularly good. There's all sorts on the handheld devices, like, Big Brain Academy and stuff like that. But those are all educational games anyway.
There's a ton of tycoon business-related games.
Yeah, but the one that got me... There are three that got me really interested. First one is SimCity.
Yes. I think a lot of the tycoon, especially like Andy said, a lot of the very in-depth tycoon ones, because I know there's ones like Industry Giant as well, which goes really in-depth with the industry.
But I think SimCity in particular is the one I'd go for before all of the others, because SimCity is it's inclusive. You have town planning, you have transport system, you have budget management, you have disaster management, you have utilities management, you have all of those things in one game. That's one of the ones. Another one that I thought would be an interesting one is to work with history and, say, geography, is Civilization.
I was thinking Civilization, but you'd need like a month lesson.
Well, the thing is, as I mentioned before, I loaned Rob from Cinema Eclectica my copy of Civilization 4, I believe it was, and he thought, I'll give it a quick try. 6 hours later, it's dark outside, and he's wondering where the time went.
It makes a change though from what we had when I was in primary school. We had that there. I think it was called Zumbinis or something to teach us maths.
Do you know what I had when I was in primary school? We had BBC Micros, and I was playing Repton.
Oh.
Repton Mania and Repton 3 for the win.
I'm just trying to think if there's anything else.
There is one more game I can suggest, and you guys, people know this game, but they don't understand just how good this game could be, and it has been kind of overtaken by a recent PS4 game that I can't remember the name of, but Spore. Because it's all about evolution, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or one more, Football Manager. Not just because it's like management. I mean, that helped me pass my accounting exam.
Yes.
Because I memorised the layouts of what they're called. That's not very good if I forgot, is it? Profit and loss accounts and things like that.
Actually, Football Manager, Champ Manager to a lesser degree than Football Manager, I'd say. Actually, I've just remembered the PS4 game that I was talking about that's similar to Spore, which, because it deals with evolution and stuff like that, is called Birthday's the Beginning.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. That's out on the Switch very soon, I believe, so I was actually going to pick that up.
That's quite an interesting one to play as well, because it has, like, you can manipulate the terrain and stuff like that. I'd say avoid any of the God Sims, because the last thing you want is to give rise to a generation of Napoleons.
Oh, speaking of which, those Total War games.
Again, probably not a good idea to teach them in school. The last thing you want is to give rise to a generation of Napoleons. If they're going to learn tactics and strategy for warfare, maybe wait until they're actually fully grown adults.
Or you could educate yourself in drug dealing by buying a copy of Golf for the NES. Then again, you might not get it, so that's a bit of a loot crate situation.
It's quite a loot box, isn't it?
Oh, God, wow. We've gone full circle. On that note, then, it's time to end. So thank you for joining us for these 3 interesting bits of news that you might have overlooked. We hope we've shed some more light on them. If you want to catch up with our old style podcasts, you'll find them on Audio Boom and Apple Podcasts, or on our website, thegeekshow.co.uk, where you'll find our shop, which has some lovely merchandise on there. There's also our Patreon links on there, and that's about it. We'll see you on the next edition of Press X. Until then, I have been Rob.
I've been Andy.
And I've been Mark.
Stay in school, don't do drugs.